Serhiy and Oksana first met on a rainy afternoon in a small cafe. Serhiy was sitting by the window, sipping coffee and reading a book, when Oksana walked in, shaking her umbrella. Their eyes met, and he smiled. "Do you mind if I share this table?" she asked. From that moment, a conversation that lasted hours turned into a friendship, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and endless coffee dates. A couple of years later, their bond had grown stronger. They decided to take a trip to the seaside, escaping the busy city life. Walking along the warm sand, watching the sun melt into the horizon, Serhiy held Oksana's hand and realized how lucky he was to have met her in that little cafe years ago. The waves whispered promises of new adventures, and for the first time, they truly felt like the world belonged to them. During their seaside trip, they rented a small beach house with a balcony overlooking the waves. Every morning, they woke up to the sound of the ocean, drinking coffee as the sun painted the sky with shades of pink and gold. They spent their days swimming, collecting seashells, and laughing as they chased each other along the shore. One evening, as the stars began to fill the night sky, Serhiy and Oksana sat on the sand, wrapped in a blanket. "Do you remember our first meeting in that cafe?" Oksana asked softly. Serhiy nodded, smiling. "I knew then that something special was starting," he replied. On their last night by the sea, Serhiy surprised Oksana with a small, wrapped box. "I saw this and thought of you," he said nervously. Oksana opened it and found a delicate bracelet with a tiny seashell charm. "It's beautiful," she whispered, touched. Then Serhiy took a deep breath. "Oksana, these years with you, every moment has been unforgettable. I want us to keep making memories like this, everywhere we go." He gently held her hands, his eyes shining in the moonlight. A few years later, Serhiy and Oksana had built a life full of love, laughter, and shared dreams. They had their favorite routines: Sunday morning coffees, evening walks through the city, and endless conversations that lasted late into the night, but the spirit of adventure still lived in them. One summer, they decided to return to the same seaside town where they had shared their first unforgettable vacation. Walking along the beach at sunset, Serhiy grew quiet, a small velvet box hidden in his pocket. Oksana noticed his nervous smile. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, curious. Stopping near the water, Serhiy knelt down on one knee. "Oksana," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "From the moment we met in that little cafe, I knew my life would never be the same. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Oksana's eyes as she nodded, barely able to speak. "Yes, yes, Serhiy." The waves crashed softly at their feet as they embraced, knowing that their journey together was just beginning. After their engagement by the sea, Serhiy and Oksana planned a small, intimate wedding surrounded by family, friends, and the warmth of love they had nurtured over the years. Life after the wedding was a blend of ordinary days made extraordinary simply by being together. They traveled to new countries, tried new hobbies, and even opened a small cafe of their own, an homage to the place where their story began. Every corner of the cafe held a memory: the first table they met at, a photo of the seaside where Serhiy proposed, and shelves filled with books and laughter. Serhiy and Oksana continued to explore new horizons together. Every day was filled with small joys: morning walks through the city, making breakfast side by side, laughing at little mishaps that suddenly became funny when shared. They often remembered the seaside where Serhiy had proposed and decided to return there every year, even for just a few days, to remind themselves how their story had begun. Over time, they planned bigger adventures, traveling to new countries, trying new hobbies, from kayaking to cooking classes. Each moment strengthened their bond, making their love deeper and more genuine. Years passed, and Serhiy and Oksana's love only grew stronger. Their home was cozy, decorated with souvenirs from their travels, photos from the seaside, and mementos of little adventures that had marked their journey together. On quiet mornings, they would sit together on the balcony, sipping coffee as the sun rose over the horizon, just like they had on that first trip to the sea. Their children ran along the garden, laughing and chasing each other, while Serhiy and Oksana watched with full hearts, feeling the same joy they had felt when they first met in that rainy cafe. Even in the years of routine and responsibilities, they never stopped exploring the world together. taking small trips, discovering new hobbies, and sharing quiet, meaningful moments. One evening, as the sun set in golden hues, Serhiy took Oksana's hand and whispered, "After all these years, I still feel like our story is just beginning." Oksana smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Because it is, and we'll keep writing it, day by day, for as long as we live." Decades passed, and Serhiy and Oksana grew older, but their love never faded. They spent quiet mornings on the balcony of their seaside home, sipping coffee and watching the waves, reminiscing about the moments that had brought them together. Their children and grandchildren often visited, filling the house with laughter, stories, and memories of family adventures. Even as the years added gray hairs and gentle lines to their faces, the spark between them remained. They continued to travel, explore new places, and cherish each day together. Every sunset reminded them of the first one they had shared on the beach. Every gentle breeze carried the memory of their laughter. One evening, sitting hand in hand, Serhiy whispered, "After all these years, I still feel like our story is just beginning." Oksana smiled and rested her head on his shoulder. "Because our love is eternal," she replied. Decades later, their grandchildren grew up hearing stories of Serhiy and Oksana, the rainy cafe where they first met, the seaside where they shared their first sunset together, and the proposal that changed everything. Inspired by these tales, the younger generation learned the meaning of love, patience, and the beauty of small, meaningful moments. The seaside house became a cherished family sanctuary. Every summer, the grandchildren played on the same sands where Serhiy and Oksana had once walked, collecting seashells, chasing waves, and listening to the whispers of the sea. The house was always filled with laughter, warmth, and memories of a love that had endured a lifetime. Even in their absence, Serhiy and Oksana's love shaped the family. The traditions they had started, the morning coffees, the walks, the annual trips to the seaside, continued, binding generations together. Their story became more than a memory. It became a legacy, a guiding light for everyone who heard it. The cafe, once small and rainy, became a symbol of beginnings, reminding everyone that great love can start from the simplest of moments. Their love had grown like the waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes powerful, but always endless, leaving traces in every heart it touched. As centuries passed, the story of Serhiy and Oksana became timeless. Visitors felt as if the couple's presence lingered in the air, bringing warmth and courage to hearts that believed in love. Even the waves, the winds, and the stars seemed to honor them, whispering their laughter, promises, and the magic of their enduring love. Even centuries later, the story of Serhiy and Oksana was told and retold, becoming more than just a family memory. It became a legend whispered by the wind and carried by the waves. Children ran along the sands, collecting seashells and imagining the adventures of the couple who had inspired generations. Young couples walked the shores, feeling a quiet magic, as if Serhiy and Oksana were still walking beside them, hand in hand, teaching them the true meaning of love. The stars above seemed to shine brighter whenever someone thought of them. Every sunrise painted the sky with colors of their happiness, and every gentle breeze seemed to tell the story of their devotion. Their love had transcended time, becoming more than a memory. It became legend, a symbol of hope, patience, and enduring joy. Even the simplest acts of love, shared smiles, whispered words, and quiet moments together, were honored in their story. Through generations, their tale reminded everyone that true love never fades. It continues, rippling through time, touching hearts, inspiring courage, and leaving joy wherever it is remembered. And so, the legend of Serhiy and Oksana lives on forever. In every wave, in every sunset, in every heartfelt smile, their love endures, a timeless, eternal bond, proof that true love knows no end, no distance, and no boundaries. Born from a rainy afternoon and a single smile, their story shines forever as a beacon for all who believe in the magic of love. Centuries went by, yet the legend of Serhiy and Oksana lived on in the hearts of those who came to the sea. In the little town near that very shore, old fishermen would tell travelers, "If you sit on the sand at night and listen to the waves, you might hear the laughter of two lovers who never left this beach." Young couples who longed for eternal love would come here to make wishes. It was said that a seashell found on this shore brought happiness and protected love. Those who discovered one returned home with lighter hearts, believing that true love could overcome any trial. The descendants of Serhiy and Oksana guarded their story as carefully as a family treasure. The small cafe they once opened had become a place of pilgrimage for lovers. Its walls were covered with photographs of couples who came to leave a piece of their own story beside the legend. One day, Oksana's great-granddaughter found an old diary hidden in the seaside house. On its yellowed pages were the words, "We are not afraid of time. For time cannot destroy what is created by love. Our days are like waves. They disappear only to be born again, and so it will always be." Reading these words, she felt as though Serhiy and Oksana were speaking to her across the centuries. She promised herself to preserve this legacy, to remind people of the strength of true devotion. From then on, every year, on the anniversary of their first meeting in the rainy cafe, the family and townsfolk gathered by the sea. They lit lanterns and released them into the night sky, letting the lights rise above the waves, symbols of a love that never fades, even in darkness. And so the legend of Serhiy and Oksana lived on, not only in memory, but in the hearts of all who felt its magic.